This video, we strive to remain spoiler-free, discussing only story and plot elements from the animated series relevant to what has already occurred on the Netflix show.
Like, no, we don't.
Hi, we try. We try, and trying is what matters.
We attempt.
Yeah, exactly. We try. That's the key point. What's up, everybody?
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. I'm Bill, also known as Matt Stagger. Welcome to WtA Adaptation, where we take things from one medium and check them out in another medium to see how they compare. Joining me tonight is Thom and Crystal from Dragonmount. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you guys. And Reverse BLT from his own YouTube channel, Reverse BLT, both which are coincidentally watching Fallout at the same time.
Coincidence?
Who would have thought that could possibly happen?
And somebody in this room
finished
is now
Fallout.
also playing Fallout.
Ooh.
Oh, which one?
Ooh,
4. I just jumped in with 4.
nice.
I've only ever played 3. It seems everyone keeps saying that like the show is mostly derived from 4.
Not
I
the
was-
story, but a lot of the like ancillary world. Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
very much like 4. Like I
Yeah.
recognized a lot of the things when I started playing.
Except for where's actually? You know what? This is going to be bad. This is going to sound really bad. Where's the show set? Where in the
California.
It's California. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
It's in 4. You're in Boston. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. The shirt I wore on the
I don't think I know that yet.
was actually the shirt that I think that was released around the time that 4 came out, and it's got like Vault Boy in a armor suit, and it's supposed to be like the logo of like a Boston, like a post-war Boston, I think baseball team. I can't remember what the team
in
was,
Fallout
but yeah.
4. You can actually go to the fuck. I don't remember what's the name of the stadium. The Red Sox Stadium.
You're asking the wrong person. I know nothing about
Wrong nerds.
football.
Wrong
I'm not a
nerds.
baseball
Tom.
guy. I'm not necessarily a football guy. Like
We do large.
My grandma would have been able to tell you immediately.
That's not what it's called. It's got it's got like a name though, like a
Is that
name.
Fenway Park?
Fenway.
Fenway Park?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Noman Garden threw out Diamond City, so I think he might be correct.
Diamond City is the name of the city that is
What's Diamond
inside
City?
of it in Fallout 4. Haha, I remembered without him reminding me. That is the name of the city that they built within the stadium.
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to
Is
play
that
my
Yep.
PlayStation.
that's the thing where people talk about the big green monster or whatever? Is
Yeah,
that
the
what that
green
is?
monster. That's what they call the wall in
Fenway.
the back of Fenway Park. That's
Yeah,
like the
Fenway.
real name of it in the real world.
I always joke that like the universe is going to curse me by giving me a wife who's a major sports nut if I ever get married, because she'll be like, "Hey, let's go watch like the basketball game or the baseball game, or let's go get like freaking season tickets to such and such team," and I'll be like, "Why?"
You know what though? I will say this. So I got two of like my, I wouldn't even call them friends. They're like family. Are huge sport people. Like know everything. Everyone's names. They play their different fantasy game. Blah blah blah. But like watching a game with someone who's really that into sports is just like listening to a nerd talk about anything.
Oh, yeah.
That they're into.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
True.
fun.
yeah.
Like I have fun
can be
doing
fun.
that with them. Like I'll watch the Super Bowl and that's pretty much it. And like maybe a couple of games during the year if it's like a big game or something for football, but that's about it.
What we
Yeah.
like to call the superb owl.
Though I think I might start watching women's rugby in the US because damn the freaking Olympics.
Yeah, the Olympics.
So good.
Ooh, that was rough.
Some of the biggest hits I've ever seen in my life came from. Like,
Oh
women's
my
rugby
God.
games that I watched.
Yeah.
So
Ilona
they're
something, I forgot her name. She was
They're-
freaking wrecking people, man.
they're
US
out to
won-
hurt each other.
Yeah. The US won, I think, the most gold medals, and like the women's running like team was just
Yeah, the track and field.
killing it. Track and field was killing it.
Gymnast.
Anyway, all right, sorry. We're here to talk about Avatar, though, aren't we?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Avatar, The
are
Last
we?
Airbender, that show
Not
we're supposed to be
sports
talking
ball.
about. Sorry about that.
Right.
I'm like,
Now
where's
you
your
see,
stop
Bill.
sign?
Phil, now you see what I put up with. This is what
Um,
happens.
I'm like, where's the
Behold
stop
the
sign,
power
Crystal?
of the tangent.
I'm like, yeah, I haven't been able
almighty
to touch my PS5 since Baldur's Gate came out. My wife and kids have taken it over, so I haven't even played Baldur's Gate yet. So that's
I
where
haven't
I'm at in my
either.
video game world.
We did forget one thing. We forgot to introduce our most important special guest.
That's correct.
We did. It's Luna. Yay!
Luna kid.
Luna!
Yay!
Who
You
is
can't go
all
wrong with
gets
a little
new
kid.
best.
Luna's almost always on our show.
Yeah.
Luna, turn around.
Hooray for kitty
Show us
cats.
your face.
No, he's
I love
sleeping.
kitty cats.
So we're on episode 6, Masks, which I got to tell you was probably my favorite episode of this season.
too. Yep.
When I watched it the first time, definitely hit me hard this episode. I got a little verklempt a couple times.
Verklempt.
So
You're bringing the Yiddish.
yeah, verklempt, you know,
You want to
moment you
talk
need.
about it, sweetheart?
just a little over
Just
some
we'll talk.
coffee.
Oh God,
That's right. We get some coffee and we'll talk.
my ears are bleeding right now.
I'm sorry.
It's all right, Bobby.
You should call me Bubba. Oh, like,
You're
seriously though,
sure.
this episode was, I think, entertaining, but a lot more than that, moving. Sort
Oh,
of
yeah.
seeing the origin place of the trauma,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
I think they're doing like one thing that I think that the live action show does a little bit better, especially in this first season than they did in the first season of that. But even throughout season 2 is showing the relationship and the story and the backstory and just the character development of Iroh and Zuko.
Yeah.
You see a lot more depth to the two of them and their connection in this, and bringing some of the things forward that happened later in the series with Zuko and explaining it earlier just makes him a more dynamic character. I feel like what probably honestly happened was they probably just didn't have it written yet, because I don't know if we've talked about this before. I know I've talked about it before, but Zuko, when they originally wrote the cartoon, wasn't in the cartoon at all. Like, he wasn't a character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
they wrote the entire season 1 and most of season 2, and they did not have Zuko at all. And
Which is weird to me.
I know it's
I
crazy,
can't even
especially how
imagine
good
the
of a
show
story.
without him.
Yeah,
Me either.
yeah. And they kind of added him, not last minute, but as like almost as an afterthought at the end, because it was like, oh, we don't really have a villain to chase the heroes because like Ozai can't do it. That would be silly. So
Right.
they wrote all of Zuko's story essentially for it, like at that point, very close to when the show aired, and easily almost one of them. Yeah. Accidental main character. It's a great, that's a great way to put it. I'm regarding he very easily became one of the focal characters. Like, even his storyline, I've said it a million times, is arguably better than Aang's.
Yeah.
I would say emotionally, absolutely.
It just occurred to me, actually, that's probably why that Azula probably was also added after the fact, because when they added Zuko, realized all the meat they could mine out of that, they also realized that they would need another character to chase the Avatar around.
Yeah.
And also someone to be a foil to Zuko in a lot of ways, like in terms of backstory.
I'd be really curious to talk to them about how Zuko's storyline developed, like in the writing room, like how it formed.
And I know that a lot of times in your writer brain, once you realize that like there's some good juicy trauma you can play with, you just start following it. you're like, and then what if this happened? And what if this happened? And yeah, it just becomes worse and worse for your poor character.
Yeah.
I think this episode goes a long way towards that redemption arc that Zuko's going to go on, because it's the first time we get a look at we get a look at the potential he has as a decent human being, and how it was sort of burned out of him, literally on his face.
Yeah,
burned out of him.
Honestly, I'm not sure. So the one thing that I don't like about Zuko's arc in the live action, and one of them has been prevalent throughout the first few episodes, and one of them happens in this episode specifically. So, the fact that he's not talking about like regaining his honor, and he's more talking about like, I want to rule the Fire Nation. Like that
Who he
wasn't
was.
his driving force
Right.
at all. He
Wasn't
never,
his main
Yeah.
motivation.
I don't even think he says it. Like, I don't even think he mentions ruling the Fire Nation ever in,
Yeah, I
in
don't
the
think he does
cartoon.
at
Like,
That's
like even
convinced to-
especially early on.
He has to be convinced to, even without spoiling anything for later, but he has to be convinced to make a play
For that,
specifically
yeah,
for
yeah.
leadership later.
Yeah, he doesn't even want to do it, which is why he's the best person to do it. Which is like
Yeah.
that's the shtick and all and everything. You know, it's always the person who doesn't want power that ends up being the
Yeah.
best one.
I
What?
think
Who
what
would've
they
thought?
Yeah, good point, Noman Garden.
The other thing is specifically in this episode, and this is a difference between the animated series and the live action, and not that it's just a change that I don't like. I just don't like what they did with it. It's during the fight in the animated series, Zuko actually fights back. Like he defends himself mostly, but he does fight back, and he has an opening for a second where he could strike Ozai in the animated series, but he doesn't do it. And that hesitation is what Ozai kind of latches onto. And
Tom,
yeah,
I hate to jump in, but no, that's not what happened.
that's what happens in the cartoon.
Nope. In the cartoon, he drops to a fully prostrate position and begs his father not to fight him.
Oh
They-
no, it's
yeah.
it's the other way
You're
around.
mixing
in
it
this one.
with
I'm mixing the
yeah,
live
you're-
action and I said the wrong thing.
you're mixing
Yeah.
you're mixing in his fight with in the animation with Zhao.
He does fight back against Ozai a little bit during the cartoon one.
Nope.
Pretty sure he
Not
does.
even a little bit. Nope.
Are you sure? I'm gonna look it up.
Not even a
not-
little bit.
But in the
I know why
in the live
I
action
can't say
one,
anything about what you're thinking about because of spoilers, but
Yeah.
I do know what
But
you're thinking about.
in the live action one, he does a lot more begging, and he's pleading like than he did in the cartoon. Like in the cartoon, it was like, "You're my father, I don't want to fight you," and this one, it's like, "Please don't hurt me," and it just was not the same.
Yeah,
vibe.
I agree there. They shifted the focus of his pleading to more of like, don't hurt me. In the cartoon, you're right. He basically is like, I don't want to fight you because you're my father at all. And but yeah, he when he turns around, like, so at the beginning of the Agni Kai in the cartoon, he turns around ready to fight. But that's because he doesn't know that his father is his opponent.
Yeah, he
know
thinks
what I
it's a
mean?
general at first.
Yeah, and
Yeah, he
the minute
thinks
he
it's
sees
general
his
that
dad,
he's
he
dishonored or
completely
whatever.
changes tone and everything. He's like, I don't want to fight you and everything else. And he goes down on his knees, and Ozai is like, rise and fight, Zuko. And he's like, no, I can't. You're my father, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you will learn respect, and pain will be your teacher. And that's when he burns him. I actually, aside from him begging, basically kind of like seeming like he was begging just not to be made to suffer in the live action, which I agree with you. I don't like that part.
I didn't get that
thought what I
sense.
did like a lot was how they made it more like it was more personal, like up close and personal with him getting burned. Like in the cartoon, we don't really get to see it. We just see like, Ozai. I mean, we see Azula, and we see Iroh look away, and Azula and Zhao looking impressed and excited, and all that stuff. But in this, we actually get to see him, like, Ozai, like, harness the flame and like bring it to him, which I thought was like really just amazing. Just making it more visceral as to how horrible a person Ozai is. You know what I mean? And then also getting to see the aftermath where he pulled the classic bullshit abusive parent thing, where he essentially did
This is for your own good.
You do. Yeah, and
It's for
I'm
your
making
own
you
good.
stronger and all that crap. I don't know. I really like that. I also liked how they made the connection more direct with like having his crew be the people that he saved in that meeting.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish they had done a little differently, because I thought that was brilliant, but it would have been better if he had also like directly asked for them when he was being banished, you know, or something like that. So just something to make him that the fact that they were with him as his crew more directly tied to what he had done, rather than it just. I mean, I get that it was like Ozai doing it as a result of it, but like it didn't feel.
The way they framed it was that his father did it as like a punishment. Like, all right, you want to defend these useless fighters, then they'll be your crew. They're useless anyway.
Yeah. It's just I would have done it slightly differently, but overall I really did enjoy that revelation that the people he spoke up for were alive and on his ship because of that, you know.
Well, one of the things that sort of made me emotional was him getting back on the boat and them lining up.
Yeah. They did that part a lot better than they did in the cartoon. Like in the cartoon, Iroh just kind of tells the story, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool," and then that never really comes up again.
The only awesome thing that we missed, I think, from the way the cartoon did it was seeing Iroh redirect lightning off the ship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome, but
I think we will get that in another way.
Yeah, I think
because
they're trying
that's
to say
way too cool of a visual.
Yeah. I think they just don't want the live. Oh crap! I just see this is what we were talking about earlier, right? We try not to spoil people because it just occurred to me that that hasn't happened on the live action, so nobody knows that that's even a thing.
But it would have happened. But it did happen in the cartoon at this point, so it's the same.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I figure it hasn't happened in live action yet because they just don't want us yet to know, because we know that Azula can use lightning. Right. And obviously she's being steadily set up as being the big threat in the background, right? And so they might not want us to know that there is any defense against what she could do yet, you know?
Or the spoiled brat in the background.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's very interesting watching the way that they do those two, because it's like we've talked about it before, that it's like basically looking at two examples of how abuse works on children. Like you have like one who's being abused in the way that we think of typically, right? It's like, you know, being told that he's worthless, being like physically abused and all these sorts of things. Set on
fire, you know, that stuff.
Yeah. But then we have the other one who a lot of people, I think, on the surface would think is not being abused. It's the golden child, right? But that's a whole other type of abuse. Like Azula's being abused too, you know, like because she's basically being constantly given like things to achieve that are basically impossible, or should be impossible for anyone that age. She's having all this crap like put onto her.
Yeah, impossibly high standards, and she's being manipulated. Yeah.
She's being played off against her brother, who, as I've said before, I maintain she does love.
Emotional manipulation is a real thing, and like that happens to her pretty much consistently throughout her life.
Yeah.
Well, you can see
still one of my favorite things the live action has done is introducing them early so that we can really dig into them.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see him gaslighting her like last episode. You saw him blatantly gaslighting and manipulating her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole thing with the constant like battles that she wins but didn't win by enough kind of stuff, you know.
Didn't do it good enough.
Yeah, it's like you did okay when she, you know, flat out, you know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
She's obviously superior. Yeah,
you did okay.
They also kind of like so there was specifically the fight between Ozai or whatever, you know, when Ozai burns him in the cartoon, she has like a sick smile on her face in the crowd when she does it, and in the live action she doesn't. It was by the way, it was the live action when he fights back. I just reversed them.
Yeah.
He fights back in the live action and has a moment where he actually gets through his defenses and is about to hit him and doesn't.
Yeah, but I think they rolled together his fight with Zhao with this one so that we could like actually.
Does he fight? Yeah, no, he.
The first Agni Kai we see in the show is between him and Zhao.
Yeah. Oh shit! What was I gonna say? It's gone now. Never mind. You can, yeah, I mean, you can see the joy in her eyes when it's happening, but she has like a sick fucking smirk on her face when let me see if I can find a picture of that, because I have a picture of it.
It's far
It's
more
definitely
pronounced.
more overt in the cartoon.
Yeah, it's far more pronounced in the cartoon, and it's flat out evil. It's like, you know, Joker style grin. It's just not wrong.
Yeah, I found it.
Azula, when you're someone who I think is like been taught that the only thing that matters is how good you are all the time. I think that seeing that moment was a thrill for her, because it was just a confirmation for her that like she's the best, like that
she was better, for sure.
Or that she could be. Yeah.
Because I think, for one thing, she would not have hesitated to fight her father at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a decent chance in a straight up Agni Kai that she could have won. You know what I mean? I think she knows that. I mean, I still think she would have lost, because Ozai's got years of experience that she doesn't have. But I do think she's a more powerful firebender than him.
It won't let me zoom in.
Oh no.
Oh, we can see it though.
There we
Look
go.
at that. It's like the straight up,
Oh, yeah.
like, yeah. And Zhao, of course, is I
He's
think
also
Zhao's
smiling.
reaction is he's impressed that his Fire Lord would go that far.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good
You
point.
know?
And this is the general that he counterminded or whatever.
Yeah. They spoke up against.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hope we get to see interactions between him and that general in the follow-up cartoon.
Oh yeah. I'm excited for that. Oh, and speaking
That
of
would be cool.
follow-up things to Avatar, so I talked about oh shit, what was her name? Osha is their mother? Yeah, Osha, I think is her name.
Yeah.
90%.
Ursa.
Ursa. Okay, it was close. There's a reference to that book that she's in that we talked about last time I was here. They're
going to cover the search.
Which one?
That's the search, isn't it? The one where they're like looking.
Oh yeah, the search. Yeah.
They're going to cover that in the follow-up cartoon.
I hope they do. But in this episode, there's a reference to Ko's mother. And the shit, what was her name? Like the
mother of faces.
Maker of faces.
Yeah, her. She's the one. Ko's mother is the one that they're at odds with in that with Zuko's mom and stuff. It's not Ko.
Oh, neat. So I haven't had a chance to read those actual novels. I just read the synopses.
I'm hoping they do it. Like I'm hoping they use a lot of the stories from that. But you know, who knows?
That would be awesome.
Cool that tied in.
Okay.
I was thinking that they had made her up for the show, for the live action or something. I was like, oh, that's a cool bit of invented lore. I didn't, but now I know it's actually real Avatar lore.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a quick question, because I walked away from this episode kind of feeling like Ozai is a more involved or maybe invested father than he was in the than he was in the cartoon. Like
waking up a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say invested in a target, maybe, but not like in
invested because he's still a psycho, but he seems so much more indifferent in the cartoon. And like when I was watching the scene where he burned him, I was like, he almost looks disappointed that he's had to do this. Not that he doesn't want to do it, I don't know. I just seemed like he's a little bit more of a invested father, not a caring father, because he's crazy.
I get what you're saying. I think that. Go ahead, Thom. Sorry.
I was going to say, like, it's more like, oh, he's my son. He's supposed to be like, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed that his son wasn't doing, where like in the show, I felt like he didn't care. Like in the cartoon, he didn't care at all.
Yeah,
there was no emotion there. There was no feeling.
In the cartoon, he ascribes Zuko more to Ursa. Like Zuko is Ursa's child and Azula is his child. Like that's the way it comes off in the cartoon. And that's the way he just always treats Zuko.
Yeah.
Like he hates him.
And there's also a lot of the framing in the cartoon is also a lot supposed to be from how Zuko sees his parents. You know, because that's why we always see Ozai like in shadow or from like this really like imposing.
Yeah, we don't see
angle,
his
like,
face
looking up at him.
until
Yeah, because
season
it's like
2 or
it's
season 3. I
Zuko's
think.
thinking of him. You know what I mean? And whereas we see Ursa in a very, you know, happy light all the time. Every time we see her, pretty
Yeah.
much, it's
Sort of
it's
heavenly
very
aura.
idyllic. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and we slow as Zuko becomes a more confident person and gets more to the point where he can confront his father, then we start to see less of a shadow figure who's in the background, and we don't even like Tom was saying, we don't even see his face. We start seeing an actual human being, and the camera angle starts to shift as well, where it's like we're getting more and more on his level, you know. I think so. I think they just made a choice, I guess, in the live action to not try to replicate that.
Yeah.
Maybe because they were going to have him be an actual character instead of just be this.
Yeah,
sort
they
of
were going to give him a personality rather
Yeah,
than I'm just not going to say anything and walk away with a look of disgust. Which
yeah, they do still use a lot of
does work.
camera language though, because we do still get a lot of looking up at Ozai from the camera's perspective.
This episode in particular, when he's over Zuko, you do get that angle, and that's where he's got the eyes, and he looks like he's almost about to tear up, but you just know inside it's more like, I feel sorry that I have a son like this.
Or
So I'm
embarrassed
sad.
even. Yeah.
Which is
It's
just
not,
like,
it's not I care about my
shame.
son.
I want to punch through your skull just for having those tears, because I know they're not really for your son.
I think my favorite part of this episode was something that they added for the live action, which was the kind of like the extended scenes with when Zuko rescues Aang as the Blue Spirit, and then he gets knocked unconscious. Aang, I like that they added, or that they kept in, like, Aang takes a second, like he's like, maybe I should leave him, but then he gets him. But they extended their interaction at that part, like they had them hide in a barn or whatever, and like that's not in the animated series, but like that whole scene in that barn was really great. Like it was done so well.
It was.
I like.
There were a lot of people complaining about that.
Yeah,
it was heartbreaking.
Like
because
it was
for a minute there.
But it was such a good character development, like to show like there is like a I don't want to say a love-hate relationship, but there's more than just a hate relationship with Zuko, and I've been saying it since the first episode when we see Zuko's room in the ship, where his room looks less like he's researching the Avatar than he's the Avatar's biggest fan. Like, it looks like a kid with their favorite wrestler. Like he's got toys, he's got posters, he's got books. Like he writes stories. He's like, he's analyzing their fighting style. Like all kinds of things. He built up the Avatar in his mind to be this amazing thing, and he was a little disappointed when it was a kid. And every time the Avatar kind of bests him in a fight, you can see him like be a little more happy with the way he built it up in his head. But specifically in this scene when they start bonding over the calligraphy, Zuko actually smiles and is enjoying the interaction. It wasn't. And then another thing that I really liked, I mean, it's terrible, but like it was done very well in the thing, was Zuko's like trauma response to Aang saying, "You have compassion," and like that's the thing that Ozai said to him. So it's like
that's what I was going to say. Is it makes it all the more heartbreaking when he does have that sort of automatic reflex return to evilness, because he hears that word compassion, and it just triggers everything in him that is negative. So
I thought that was done very well.
Yeah,
you can see him like seeing Aang as a human being for a minute.
I don't know. I found this picture on set. I'm glad they were having fun on set. It's actually Aang wearing the Blue Spirit.
Oh, I was wondering where you got that. I thought maybe you had taken the picture and just stuck the mask on top of it.
No. It's just one of the pictures I found of one of the articles where they were talking about how much fun they had on set, particularly with this episode. So
that's awesome.
If you ever watch an interview with that kid, his normal demeanor is Aang from the animated series.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
I hope that with season 2, since that's where I figured they'll actually start showing us more of Aang's actual training in waterbending, because that was my theory, was that they had sort of held it back not just to give Katara her arc, but like also because it's a good sort of tension point when we meet his next bending teacher and how their instruction styles clash, to put it mildly. I'm hoping that we'll see more of that because I always maintain that Aang's goofiness is sort of like a defense mechanism for like a lot of the stuff that he has to deal with.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
so
it
I'm
is.
hoping that we'll get to see more of that like overtly goofy, silly Aang as he's trying to deal with the rigors of training and the conflicts that are happening between his teachers. You know,
Yeah, it's a way for him to disassociate from what's going on, and
and
also
all the responsibilities he has.
yeah. He does a lot more. The silly parts of Aang in the animated series, I always liked as like a great reminder that he's 12 years old. Oh my god, this fucking cat! I hate when he does shit. It's
Ew.
so
Buried her
fucking-
face. She's like, nope.
That is just. Oh,
He does it all
It's
the time. It's so fucking cute. Sorry.
Cats are great. I wish I had a cat.
Have
I know.
two.
I miss having animals. Like I don't get to have any pets anymore.
That sucks.
Aw, that's awful.
I mean, one day I'll own my own home, and then I'll just like I'll become like a crazy cat man or something. I'll have
There
like
you go.
I love it.
cats
Do
everywhere.
it.
I always wanted to have like. Have you ever see those houses where people build the tunnel tracks?
Oh, yeah, they
Where-
like
Yeah.
go around the top
Yeah.
of the room. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love that.
I shall be making
I
one
wanna
of
get that.
those.
Nice.
That's amazing.
You got to keep me updated on your D&D room and share pictures because I'm
Oh, yeah.
obsessed with
I
that
can actually
idea.
share some pictures later before we get off too. We did some more work on it this weekend.
Oh, yay.
Excellent.
I gotta
That's
learn how
where
to play D&D.
that's where
so
I'm
I
going
can
to do
join
some
you
cat
guys.
stuff because the D&D room is going to be themed as like a common room from an inn from Wheel of Time, essentially.
Nice.
And we're going to name it something. We have like a bunch of names that we're toying with, but it's going to be something to do with cats, and it's going to have a lot of cat stuff in it. We have a lot of art and cat nonsense. So I want to build like one of those like tiered fucking things that the cats can play on. Ooh, it's the
Balls
Waterholic
and yarn.
Aussie. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Ben?
Hello.
I think overall this was a good episode. Some of the CGI in the fight scene was a little wonky. There were a
Yeah.
couple
It looked a
points
little
where I was
funny.
like, ew,
Yeah.
that
I can
sort
see
of
that.
stutter step jump
Yeah.
that Aang does is a little weird.
They have issues with landings. Like you really see it in the later water battle, where it's like when Katara especially comes in for
Falls
a landing,
down.
there's
Yeah.
like something weird that happens. I think they can hide it with most of the bending styles most of the time, but with water bending, for whatever reason, I can see it the entire time with water bending. So there's something for them to work on for season 2. I don't know what it is with the wire foo, why they can't get that part to look good.
It's the merging of the CG with the real life people. There's a stutter. I've noticed. I've gone over it frame by frame, and I'm like, there's a sort of blur stutter as it's going into the CGI as Aang's jumping.
So
go
it's like
up.
because they're
Yeah,
using
it's a
CGI
merge.
person models.
Yeah, it's the merge
Okay.
from the live action to the person because they're literally jumping and doing arcs that are, even with wires, you would need a
Yeah.
crane and probably a couple $1 million to get it off the ground. So they're not going that full thing.
I'm assuming they're using CGI person models too because of like child labor laws. Because I would imagine there's got to be some laws about like what kind of stunts you can have people do under a certain age, and
probably.
so you might not be able to do all the stuff.
One of the things that I like what they did with this episode specifically was like they kind of bookended it. The episode kind of starts with what is he, Lieutenant, I think. G? Yeah.
Oh
G.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's yelling about Zuko and the crew, and he doesn't blah blah blah. He's not their prince or whatever. And then at the end of the episode, he literally addresses him as my prince or our
Yeah, that
prince
was
or,
really
their,
good.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a
That was
great
a nice moment.
Like
way
I
to
said,
frame the
that
episode.
moment when he gets on the boat and they all get in a line and they sort of do the salute and bow
Oh,
their
yeah.
head when they realize what he sort of went through for
Yeah.
them, although it wasn't really for them, but in a way was.
I mean,
not
it was,
directly.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was because of his passion about their nation and the people in it, and specifically coming to their defense. Like, he didn't do it for them, but he did it for the nation, and they were the people that were the example for it. So, like, I could see that being, you know, definitely being, you know, meaningful to them.
Well, I mean, it was one of those things where, because I think, yeah, I mean, it was for them. He just didn't know who they were. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it was for his people.
Yeah.
Not those specific people.
I loved how he didn't know why they were bowing too, and like he still doesn't know.
No, yeah. Iroh's just he's just like, whatever. All right, this will make things easier.
Yeah.
I think it's better that way.
Game night or whatever. Yeah,
it keeps it from going to Zuko's head, and I think it would have. At this point in his development, I think it would have went to his head if, you know, he sort of knew that they felt that loyal.
Yeah.
For that reason, and
well,
he
I think
may
it was
have made
good for him not to know there was a specific reason for them to be that loyal. You know what I mean? Because we don't need him beginning to think that loyalty is transactional. You know, like I did something for them, and that's why they're loyal to me.
Well, yeah, that's the road he could head down. That's why I'm like, it's better he doesn't know at all.
I love how like they still maintain, even though we don't get a lot of his, we don't get as many of his like sayings and stuff. We still get that feeling that of Iroh constantly teaching him in these really subtle ways, you know, just nudging him to the right path. I thought they managed to maintain that pretty well in the live action. Though I would still like to see to get a few more of his random musings that you're sitting there like, wait, what? You know, we do need a few more of those like mystic tones of Iroh.
Yeah. Well, you know, and speaking of like mystic thing, like we haven't even mentioned the Roku stuff with this episode. So like this episode, I feel like covered like 4 or 5 episodes of the animated series with like.
I counted 4.
Pretty much par for the course for the live action so far is covering about 4 to 5 episodes.
Yeah, the Winter Solstice episode, the Blue Spirit, and then it kind of touched on the Swamp episode too, because there's some stuff that some information that they pulled from that, but I won't go too in deep into the Swamp episode. But they pulled some information from the Swamp episode into this episode.
I didn't check to see, but I'm willing to bet that there were people who were upset that Roku came across more jovial, because he's very serious. I enjoyed it personally.
Yeah, it's a good juxtaposition to the last Avatar we saw, which was Kyoshi, and she was so freaking blunt and serious.
I'll be right back. I have a hairball I need to clean up. Sorry.
Oh boy!
Oh no!
Ooh.
If I don't get it now, it's gonna stain my wood.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna get that.
I'll be right back. Carry on.
No, you're good. This guy doesn't. He's pretty good about hairballs. He always seeks out the tile before he does them. The other one, I feel like the other two specifically seek out the rug before they do it.
Gotta love it. Bonds right to it. But I agree. Like I like how they're doing the whole like, you know, the differences in personality, you know, and it makes a lot of sense too, because like as we get into some later stuff, I had started to get this feeling that there's how to put it, that like the Avatar kind of responds in a sense to things from their most like immediate life in their next life, you know. So it's like if they were a little too, or if they maybe felt like they were a little too easygoing, right? Their next life, they're a little more hard ass, you know what I mean? It's like if they felt like they were a little too hard ass in their next life, they're a little more lighthearted again. You know what I mean? It's like there does seem to be this kind of.
I think it's because it follows the Avatar cycle. You know, it's like, you know, the Earthbenders tend to be a little bit more grounded.
Yeah, stubborn.
And the Firebenders tend to be a little bit more, you know, hot-headed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The Airbenders and the Waterbenders are a little more fluid.
Or as Boomy said, Heidi.
Yeah. I didn't want to call them airheads.
Nice.
I'm gonna stop now. That was my last
Wow.
one.
The pun
That was
police
really
will be
bad.
visiting you later.
Mm-hmm.
The wet
That was
noodle
really bad.
batons will come out.
Remind
yeah,
me, because you guys know all the things. In the animated version, did Iroh try to stop Ozai? Or
No.
did that? No,
No,
that
yeah,
would
we
that
didn't
was
get
only
any
live
conversation
action.
between them.
Okay.
No.
I thought that was actually interesting. Like I was sitting
It
here
fits
thinking to
Iroh's
myself,
character.
Well,
it
I
does
feel
fit
like he
Iroh's
knew
character.
it would have made it worse.
Well, the thing is, I was thinking to myself that the only thing that didn't make sense about it to me was that Ozai felt like the kind of person to punish his brother for daring to make that attempt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he seemed like I was actually a little surprised by how respectful Ozai seemed to Iroh in that moment. But I will agree with you that that I felt like it was in Iroh's character, definitely to try to intercede.
The one question that I kind of had, it's not really a question, it's just an interesting like thing that I noticed. And I'm not sure if it was done purposefully or if it was just like they had different ideas, but every single time we see other avatars in the animated series, and I think so far in the live action series, they're all in their primes. It's all them from when they were in their prime. Roku seems to be the only one that we see when he's elderly, like literally the day that he died. Like he looks like exactly like he did the day that he died. Where
good point.
Everyone else is in their prime.
Did everyone else die in their prime? I'm not familiar with their exact death dates, but
I think Kyoshi was the longest.
I think Kyoshi lived.
She's like almost 300. I thought.
Yeah, till old age. Yeah, she lived till really old.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the water bender. Oh God, Krutuk or something like that. No one Garden always tells me his name, and I'll still never fucking remember it. I think he lived till
maybe 100 and something.
Yeah,
like the Avatar usually lives longer than normal people.
Yeah,
by a decent amount.
Kuruk, there you go.
Kuruk.
I had the K right.
First Avatar was quite old. Without going into detail, there it was quite old when they left.
Kuruk.
Because all the power they wield like makes them live longer, basically.
So they're Aes Sedai, is what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I mean seriously, I mean we've talked about it before. There's a lot of crossover between these ideas. But generally you do see that a lot in stories involving magic. Like if you are a magic wielder, you tend to live longer than people who can't wield magic. I very rarely have seen stories where they live the same kind of lifespan or even shorter. I think I saw one story once where magic wielders had shorter lives because of it.
I did.
Remember what story that was.
I've read a few books where that was the case because magic had a price, and one of the prices was it shortened your life.
Yeah,
so the more you use, the sooner you would actually end up naturally dying.
I was going to say the other thing that's interesting about Roku, which I won't mention directly right now, is his family tree, which we find out about later. But he's also the only one. Yeah. He's the only avatar other than Aang, because we know Aang's full kind of like lifespan almost like because of Korra,
right?
But he's the only avatar that we hear mentioned having siblings or a family or like when we learn who they are and like where their family kind of went from there,
right?
Which was another,
I guess, kind of lends a little more understandability, I guess, to the live action having. Because I think
it makes me really feel like serious, like Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker type vibes. Merlin, King Arthur, like a lot of that.
Bloodlines, more death,
Yeah.
Because I don't think there was ever like the animation went out of its way almost to not say that there was a rule about the Avatar not having family or something.
No, there isn't a rule or anything. They just they never explore it.
Yeah, and I think, but I wouldn't be surprised if most of the time the Avatar doesn't have a family, We do know that
It would be
Kuri
hard. That's a
had
hard.
someone
That's a
Yeah.
hard
because-
position.
Well, that was
Yeah,
driven
you're
home this
target.
episode. This
Yeah,
episode that
like-
was driven home, where he
Yeah.
told him,
Yeah.
having friends is dangerous and
Dangerous,
difficult
yeah.
when you're the Avatar.
Yeah.
Plus,
You
like,
can't.
know,
You're an extremely public figure. You have to travel the world. Like your responsibility is literally the entire planet. Like,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that want to kill you. So like, it's a danger.
Sounds a lot like Rand.
Yeah.
and
chosen
everybody
one
is someone that
is
can
a
be
strong
used against you. Yeah, it really is. I think it's because people like to believe that there's someone who will come along and save them, but yeah, it is interesting looking at the ramifications of that, because it's like you're a literal god, you're a literal walking god who has people who can be used as leverage against you.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what else are you going to do? You either catch the person while they're asleep and hope that you get them before they wake up, or
Reminds me
you
of
find
A
a way to
Knight's Tale.
kidnap their wife and say, "Hey, she's gonna get it if you don't do what I want," and then
What-
hope that you're far enough away from them when you make that threat that they can't do anything about it. You know what I mean?
That comment in
Because,
A Knight's Tale, where the guy's like, "How would you beat him?" He's like, "With a stick in his sleep, because that's the
Yeah.
only way you're winning."
Yeah, exactly. You can't have to be conscious.
I love that movie so
and
much.
I one of the things that always got me, even with the cartoon, was just the thought of like, if you're a being who has this essentially unbroken consciousness, even though you, while you're awake, can't really directly tap into it most of the time. Think about all the people, even if most avatars never do marry or have kids or any of these other things, or even have relationships, even if only like 1% or 2% of them did so. You have this one being who now has all of these people, because we know that the spirit world is a real thing. Right?
Yeah.
So you have
Right.
all these loved ones you've accumulated essentially over time, who all loved you, but only like a part of you loved them. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it's such a strange thing for me to think about.
Well, it also it depends on the avatar, because like
Yeah.
because everyone's going to be a little different. Like I'm not
Yeah.
sure every avatar could have done what Aang did, and
Well,
every avatar could do what Korra did. They're all
It's
different
said in this
people,
episode that we all share the same spark, but we are very different people.
Right.
We get to
Which
choose
is
who we are,
also a
but we
weird
just
thing
share the
to-
spark.
Yeah.
So
Tom and I go
it
back and
takes
forth on what this means all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, to go back to Wheel of Time, it takes a specific type of person. I don't want to say special or better or worse, because it's none of those things. Because like you have to be willing basically to sacrifice everything for the good of everyone, and that's not like a good or bad thing, but sometimes it's the necessary thing when it comes to a story where like you have to save the world. And not everyone is capable of doing that. Even like the best characters, like Matt and Perrin, would never do that. Neither of them would ever do that. But
Right.
Rand will, and that's why he's the dragon. And it's the same reason why I wouldn't say that's why the people are the avatar, because like again, I'm not sure every avatar would be willing to do that. Specifically, Aang isn't willing to do that most times. He's not even willing to kill people.
Yeah, it's very interesting how that works, because I
Knowingly
really
kill
want to
people.
respond to what Gnome said, but like I can't without getting into massive spoilers.
Yeah. The only time,
But
I mean, without spoiling, oh no, because we don't want to spoil future episodes. So never mind.
Yeah. I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, I could say something,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
He doesn't want
can't.
to knowingly. He doesn't knowingly kill people. Like he doesn't like go out of his way, and like his attacks are always to like disable, knock unconscious, disarm. Like he like when he's one-on-one fighting people, he's never trying to kill them.
Right.
Yeah, the Airbender way is definitely to avoid directly attacking people.
Yeah,
killing
redirect
people, all that kind of
energy, blah blah blah. Yeah, he's very.
They will if they absolutely have to, as we saw in the opening of the show.
Very, like even though the water bending is based in Tai Chi, like I always pictured them as like Tai Chi judo, like kind of defensive / redirection
Redirection of force. Yeah, same.
And waterbending combat is absolutely designed to kill.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
they use shards of freaking ice and throw them at people. Like,
I think it's interesting seeing how they kind of like each element sort of like merges into the next one, so to speak. You know, it's like because you have the air, which is almost entirely defensive, and then like water bending, which is this weird blend of this defensive and offensive, and then
I'm gonna grab another picture real quick. So except we really like another thing that I love that they do in Avatar is kind of they play with the way you imagine kind of the way the magic works in a way that's very interesting. So like you think, oh, air isn't really that crazy in the sense of it doesn't like, you know, present a lot of danger to people. Like you can't make shards of air and throw it at people. Air isn't heavy. Like, you know, there's a lot of, but one of the things you can do with
air that can slice through stone.
Mm-hmm. You can make wind blades that are pretty nasty.
Can you put this picture up? So one of the things that they could do with air very easily, which is a very easy thing for them to do. So this is the shot when Gyatso, when Aang finds Gyatso. What he did in this room is something that any airbender can do to at least one person. The fact that he did it to everyone in this room simultaneously, because you can see there's barely a fight in here. Like all of these firebenders just kind of dropped dead.
Yep.
He suffocated everyone in the room at the same time by removing the air from the room.
Yeah.
Killing
and you know
himself.
what? Come to think, it makes me wonder, because again, you know, thinking about how like their philosophy is very defensive and, you know, kill as a last resort and everything. It makes me wonder if he was actually just attempting to rob them of the air necessary to create fire. And Thom disappeared.
I'm like, where'd Thom go?
He's gone.
He's traveling. He's traveling. He's gonna pop up behind me out of a portal. But yeah, you know, like I wondered about that, and if it was like he was actually trying to suffocate them, or if he was just trying to stop the fire, you know, and had the same result, you know.
Effective either way.
I
really close
the wrong tabs to things when I.
It's all right. I don't know if you heard what I was saying, but I was just talking about how I wondered if Gyatso was trying to suffocate them, or if he was just trying to remove the oxygen necessary for the fire.
I'm pretty sure he's trying to suffocate them. But like we see how easy that is for airbenders to do in other adaptations of Avatar.
One of my favorite things ever is what you're talking about right now.
Yeah. Like you literally just surround their head with a lack of air and they can no longer breathe. Like any airbender can do that very easily. Like that is not a hard thing for them to do because they move air all the time. All they have to do is move the air away from their face and they can't breathe anymore.
See, my question was, could they pull the air from your lungs through your body? Just
I don't know about through their body, but at least out of their mouth or their nose.
Okay.
That way is pretty much the way that
if they pulled it out of their body would explode.
Wow.
They probably could do that.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
They probably could just burst a person.
Yeah.
Just like Katara.
Could you imagine overfilling someone's lungs with air? Probably also really easy to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Bending discipline has ways to jack a person up from the inside.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we won't talk about all of them right now for reasons, but
no. I mean, just thinking though, just extrapolating. Like for instance, like
the only thing that I feel like the Earthbenders can do with someone on the inside would be like Magneto from the X-Men movies, where he's like, you know, he pulls out mineral.
Too much iron in your blood.
Like if he pulls out, I'm going to pull the calcium. I can bend your bones because they're made of calcium, and that's a mineral.
I mean, that honestly should be a thing. Like you should
bone
be
bending.
able to do that.
No.
And the hemoglobin you should be able to do too if you're especially if you're a certain.
It doesn't. I feel like at some point it gets too muddied. Though it does make sense that it should technically work. Like, what is Earth? What is considered Earth? Like, can they bend obsidian? Can they bend igneous rock? Can they bend sedimentary rock? Like, does it matter what the composition of the rock is? Like, there's so much that goes into it.
I'd say yes.
Metal. I'm sorry. I'm not. Forget what I just said.
because like, when you take the idea of like a conglomerate rock, right? So that's a rock that's made up of many rocks. So like,
Right.
if they could, but then you take the idea of a pure rock, like can they bend pure quartz? Can they bend pure obsidian? Can they bend pure ruby? Like that's like, I would assume that it probably comes down to the bender, because like we see even in the live action we see Boomy bend the geminite, which isn't a real gem, but it's a gem. So like, he's bending a pure gem of earth, not just the dirt on the ground. So like, there's probably
it's edible, which means that it's got to be something like a silicate, right?
Yeah, well, you know what it is? It probably falls to like talents. Like if you think of, I'm always just going to go back to Wheel of Time with it. But if you think of it in the sense of the Wheel of Time, where it's like people have certain talents and people have certain, some people are stronger than others. It probably falls somewhere in that realm of stuff. Also, like where they grew up, because like, there's later episodes where we see people bending different types of earth that certain other earthbenders can't bend. Like they're like, I can't do anything with it. And then there's a ton of other earthbenders there that are having no problem bending that stuff. So
yeah,
and it's also a way to mark who your more talented benders are, because the more talented benders can adapt very quickly to those different forms.
Yeah,
like we see with a certain earthbender we will meet down the line who can't deal with sand when they first encounter it, but very quickly adapts to using it.
My favorite part about the sand thing is, especially just to throw a little shade at Dune, if you tap on the sand with any, like if you hit the sand with a 5,000-pound weight, like 20 feet away, you're not going to hear it. So like, it doesn't matter. The sandworm is never going to hear you in the sand. So sound does not travel through sand.
It does on drum sand, because the way it is constructed, there is a scientific thing called drum sand that actually has an echo chamber beneath it. So that top part, when you step on it, it actually echoes through.
Is it hollow underneath it?
Partially. Yes,
so
that's why it's called
it doesn't
drum
travel
sand.
through the sand. It travels through the empty space around the sand.
Yes,
well,
but that
I
is
mean, Shai Hulud
vibrations are picked up as from void to void.
Like in Dune, they are in a desert.
Around under there.
I'm just giving you Dune reasoning, not my own. This isn't me. This is Frank Herbert. You deal with him.
Wait, you gotta remember though, Shai Hulud is digging around under there, so there's constantly going to be like little hollow areas underneath Arrakis' surface. So like,
okay.
I mean, we all know the real answer is just this magic, and it needs to work that way.
but it goes to the same person that you were talking about before. Anyway,
yeah. I earlier when I was doing my live stream for the last part of Fallout, I randomly started talking about the freaking juice of flu while I was drinking my tea. I just went off. Started doing the freaking litany from for the Mentats from like the from David Lynch's Dune, because that litany I'm certain is not in the books at all. Like they just like.
My will is owed to the juice of Sefu. I will drink the Sefu. By the purple lips I will be known. Yeah.
Yeah, but will alone when I set my mind in motion. Gotta love it.
Were there any themes that really stood out to you guys?
Just the
trauma.
Well, yeah, the trauma, but also the relationship between Iroh and Zuko was great.
Yeah,
I like the development of that.
Yeah, I think the overarching theme of like deciding who you are,
finding yourself.
Yeah,
is really sort of like, I won't say they hammered it home in this one, but I think they did a little bit more of like talking about it, just like, because that's ultimately, and I think we talked about this before, like a while back, like the ultimate overarching theme, well, one of the overarching themes of the whole series is choosing who you are, like rather than letting someone else choose for you. Like Aang has to deal with that too as the Avatar. Like there are even his past lives are telling him who he is, like what it means to be this being. Zuko is being told this is who you are. This is what it means to be the heir to the Fire Nation. Everybody's being told this. Iroh had been told that and rejected it a long time ago, and all these other things. Azula is still trying to be the person she's told that she's supposed to be. and all that
or,
stuff. They have,
or at least the person that she thinks her father wants her to be.
right.
Right.
And then we have like you know, all of Sokka's insecurities come down to who he thinks he's supposed to be versus who he wants to be. And Katara, same thing. Like, you know, she like, I think they haven't, probably she's the one who's lost that the most so far this season. Though we do get it later. You know,
I was about to say,
home.
once
It's just
she
in
starts her
the
training,
cartoon. Yeah, in the cartoon, it's there from the beginning because we still have sexist Sokka, which is, I think, the only thing we really lost by not having sexist Sokka was that we didn't get to see the whole idea of like what Katara is being told she's supposed to be. We don't get it until towards the end of the season. But I'm fine with that because sexist Sokka sucks. So I'm actually glad we got rid of that.
I like the development of the character. I mean, he's a kid, so like it's. I want to say it's. I mean, it's sexist, but it's because he's a child and he doesn't understand really. And then he learns, and I love the way they make him like be like, oh, okay, never mind. I just knew the wrong thing, and like he kind of grows from there. Showing that change the way you think about things and stuff like that is. I mean, obviously, this show isn't for kids. I just love that they did that in the children's show. So it's like, oh, kids get to learn that it's okay to change your views on things, and I really love that.
And I think we do still get to see him changing his views, just not relative to that particular.
Yeah. Sokka just has a great arc. It's not as good as Zuko's, but it's a great. Did you get it?
Oh yeah, I always get it.
Thom and Crystal, what do you guys have coming up?
Well, tomorrow night we will be continuing our rewatch of Fallout. It's episode 2 with our friends from Black Tower Podcast, which I'm really excited about. Lots of other things going on.
Show.
Dragonmount. It is a really good show. I was actually, watching it on my phone today when I was living in the dark ages.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you came out of that all right.
Oh my gosh. It's
look at
storming
looking all
right
professional.
By the way, I love that picture because there's so much great foreshadowing in that scene.
Oh yeah. That was a good scene. I was torn between like 2 or 3 different pictures. I had a couple of different choices, but this is definitely good.
It's just a really good episode. Like episode 2 is just a really good episode.
It was.
Agreed.
Yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
The other thing we're going to talk about tomorrow is the Kickstarter.
Soundscape of Time.
Yeah, the Wheel of Soundscapes that they funded.
I forgot to post.
Funded, so people will be winning the fabulous prizes that we will be giving away. And to remind everybody again, the fabulous prizes are being given to those who either backed the Kickstarter at any amount of money, even if you backed it for $1, or increased their bid during the timeline that we had set up. So it was like August 4th or August 5th. I'd have to double check the post. Like we made a Twitter post when we posted it.
I believe it was 5th through the 11th.
The 5th through the 11th when the Kickstarter ended. We'll put a big. I'll have a big wheel of everyone's names. We'll spin the wheel and we'll pick winners, and it'll be fun. So we're going to be giving away 4 or 5 of these bags. I think I wrote 4 on the thing, maybe 5. I don't know. We'll see. Whatever I wrote down is what we're doing, and numbers in my brain don't work. So it's either going to be 4 or 5 of these bags. Jordan from that made the soundscapes, Jordan Reynolds, he said he's going to give away the Lord of the Rings full soundscape, which is cool. It comes with both versions of Rob Inglis audio narration timing, so that you can line up with the Rob Inglis audio narration and the Andy Serkis narration, so you can line up with either one. And the which are actually right here behind me. Oh, you can't see right now, but the Brandon Sanderson first 4 books of Stormlight Archive. So that should be fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's the one with the people with the giant swords, right?
Yes, that is the Shard Bearer.
Anime swords, yes. It's anime swords. It's fine.
It's
you
anime.
can call it what it is.
It's anime. Like they're in armor that is like living armor that makes them like 12 feet tall. Not 12, like 9 or 10 feet tall, and swords that are like 13, 14 feet long.
Just Buster
Please tell
Swords,
me
man.
these things
Buster
aren't
Swords.
sentient.
What's up?
Please tell me these things aren't self-aware.
Hold on. I got a card for you.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't answer that without giving everything away.
I don't know if you're aware of this acronym in the Wheel of Time community, but it means
Yes, I
reading.
know about it.
Yeah.
It's just one of the most disturbing concepts of the world to me, though. Is like, random bits of technology that are aware. You're just like, say, like a door or like someone's shirt. But you're like, but you are aware of your existence as those things. And I'm just
it's done
sounds
in
like
a
a
way
nightmare.
that is comfortable and it's right off the bat. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Read it. Tom, why are you making that face? Stop, Tom.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, exactly.
So I guess that should be my first Brandon Sanderson is Stormlight.
No. It should definitely not be your first Brandon Sanderson book. Like 1,000% should not be.
My first of his.
I always suggest. So he wrote 2 standalone novels that are great. That are also. So if you want to get into the Cosmere,
someone is saying Mistborn.
Mistborn is a good one. I would read Mistborn second or third. So I always suggest people to start out with either Elantris or Warbreaker.
Warbreaker is my personal. Start with Warbreaker, then move on to Elantris, then do Mistborn.
They're great. They're great examples of Brandon's writing. And they're standalone books. They're 1 book each. They're different stories, but they're both also in the Cosmere, which is his big overarching universe.
I was going to say, isn't everything he writes in that?
No.
Oh, okay.
The Skyward isn't.
A couple of YA books he wrote isn't in it. A bunch of his short stories aren't in it. A couple other books that he wrote aren't in it. But Warbreaker and Elantris both are. Then the Mistborn series, I would definitely jump into that after those 2 books. Mistborn's great. And then literally the last things that you read of his should be jumping into Stormlight, because Stormlight is the culmination of the Cosmere.
Metal.
What's up?
Right.
Like Mistborn is the metal one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mistborn is honestly the one that I'm most excited about out of all of them. I'm a bad Sanderson fan. I haven't read Rhythm of War yet, which is the latest Stormlight book that's come out.
I haven't either.
I got an advanced copy and I still didn't read it.
I'm on Oathbringer, so.
Wow.
But Mistborn is the one that I like the most. I like the magic system in it a lot. And the way he's writing it is he's doing a trilogy of trilogies. So the first trilogy is fantasy, but it's a little bit of urban fantasy because like there's a little bit of technology, like they're just getting light bulbs and they have trains.
So it's like steampunk.
A little less steampunk. It's still mostly fantasy. Then he wrote one that's 100% an urban fantasy, and it is steampunk. Like it's
that one is.
Like imagine like the American Wild West type of era. But also with the magic system, which is interesting. And then he's going to write a science fiction series based in the same world, just going through time, essentially, and watching the world evolve over time with that magic system, which is cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I always like because I'm not really all that interested so much in like yet another medieval story with magic. Because it seems like
the Mistborn's not medieval. It's not medieval.
Yeah, no.
I love the idea of trying to figure out how magic would fit into like a far future sci-fi universe, like Wizards.
Mistborn's going to be one that you like. Then Mistborn's definitely going to be one that you really like.
Reverse BLT. When is your Fallout show? It's on Saturday.
So
Sundays.
So what I'm doing now is I'm doing live reactions on Sundays.
Sundays.
I actually reacted to the episodes 5 through 8 of Fallout earlier today. So that's done and in the can.
Excellent.
Now I just have to do edits. Who knows when those are going to go up? I'm still trying to decide what next Sunday's live reaction will be. I've narrowed it down to season 5 of The Expanse, or what was the other thing that I was thinking of? Like season 5 of The Expanse,
Witcher. Caught up on those?
Let's see. There was a 3rd season, wasn't there, that I missed? So I guess I could do season 3 of Witcher. There were some folks asking for Rings of Power, which I haven't done either season 1 of yet. I haven't done season 1 of House of the Dragon either. So like, there's a lot of stuff to choose from, like, I guess at some point I probably should do a poll.
That's a good idea.
That's what we do.
Because I honestly don't have any idea.
Yeah.
But all I can tell you is every Sunday.
So what we do is we come up with like
7-ish.
Internally, we come up with 4 choices because social media only allows you to post 4 choices on a poll.
Yeah.
So we come up with 4 choices of shows that we either want to watch, we have seen, things that we're interested in, and then we put them up for the people to pick. That's how, I feel like that's usually the best way to do it, especially because they're picking what they want to watch. So
give the people what they want.
Yeah, that's what I like. It's just hanging out with a bunch of nerds and talking about things. As long as people are interested in it, I'm having a good time.
That's kind of what we're doing here.
The Oracle
yeah.
And I want to thank you guys for being here tonight. Appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you next week. And to everybody watching at home, thank you for watching. And don't forget to be awesome.
Thank you guys.